What's up, YouTube? Thomas L here, with Scarlett Johansson reprising her role as Black Widow in Avengers Endgame, which opens this week. And of course, she's going to reprise her Black Widow role once again for the solo movie. I decided to do my top 10 favorite Scarlett Johansson movies. I've always been a fan of Scarlett Johansson. I mean, not only is she incredibly good looking, she's also a pretty good actress. Like I've really enjoyed seeing her in films and she's been some pretty good stuff that I've enjoyed over the years. It's like crazy that Scarlett Johansson actually first started acting, at a very young age back in the 90s. She did stuff like Home Alone 3. She was in that Spider movie, Eight-Legged Freaks. But since then, she's been in some really high-profile quality stuff. And now, of course, she's Black Widow in the MCU, which I think she's terrific in. But anyway, that being said, here's my 10 favorite Scarlett Johansson movies. Alright, coming in at number 10 is a movie called Lucy. Now, this movie was directed by Luc Besson, who I really like Luc Besson. I mean, I think the guy is a really tremendous director. His new movie, Anna, looks really good, by the way. I wasn't really sure how I felt about the film, but that trailer that got released for Anna looks really cool. Anyway, back to Lucy. Now, in the film, Scarlett Johansson plays a woman who's of course named Lucy, who actually gets tricked by a boyfriend into delivering a briefcase to a supposed business contact. And so, like, the once a carefree student is abducted by thugs who attention turn her into a drug mule. And so, like, she is, like, planted with a package containing a very powerful chemical, but it, like, leaks into her system, giving her superhuman abilities, including telekinesis, telepathy, and she also ends up seeking out a neutralist played by Morgan Freeman, who she hopes is able to help her and all. Lucy was completely fun. I was surprised by how good the movie was too, because when I first saw the trailer for Lucy, I didn't really like the trailer that much. But the movie I thought was great. It was really fun. Okay, maybe not great, but it was still a really good film. It was really fun. Scarlett Johansson kicked loads of butts in this. Morgan Freeman was pretty good too. I mean, Lucy was definitely a really good one. And I'll be down to see a sequel. I know there's been talks about like another Lucy that was supposed to come out, but probably Scarlett Johansson is a little busy with the MCU. Maybe that could be what's holding a Lucy sequel up, but because the movie actually did pretty well in the box office when it got released. So if they announce another Lucy, I'm down to see another one. Not sure if it'll be as good as the first one, but hey, we'll see. Alright, coming in at number 9 is a comedy called Rough Night. Now, this movie, in the film, Scarlett Johansson actually plays a woman who's about to get married. And so, like, for one night of freedom, she decides to have a bachelorette party with her former college classmates. And then, during the party, they act like a stripper accidentally gets killed, so they gotta, cover it up. And I should say it this way. It's kind of like a female version of Weekend at Bernie's. That's what that's what I really got from when I first saw this movie. But anyway, Rough Night is hysterical. I really like the chemistry between Scarlett Johansson and the lead females, who are played by Alana Glazer, Zoe Kravitz, and Jillian Bell. They were all great together in this. And Scarlett Johansson, that woman could do comedy well, because she was just perfect in this. And like I said, they all had great chemistry with one another. It was directed by the the female director who did that, directed that show Broad City, which of course, which makes sense since two of the stars in this were also on Broad City, which actually ended its run, by the way. Anyway. But Rough Night is a really hysterical film. I mean, I actually saw this movie when it got released back in June. I believe I saw this on my birthday as well. It's a really funny little film, and if you guys never had a chance to check out Rough Night yet, do yourself a favor. If it's on TV or whatever, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, coming in at number 8 is Vicky Cristina Barcelona. In the film, Scarlett Johansson plays a woman named Cristina who arrives in Spain with her best friend named Vicky, played by Rebecca Hall. And they end up arriving in Spain for a summer vacation at a friend's Bos- Barcelona home. And the friend, by the way, is played by Patricia Clarkson. And so, while they end up visiting an art gallery, they meet a seductive painter named Juan Antonio, played by Javier Bardem, who invites them for a weekend of food, art, and some pleasant stuff. And so, sparks, of course, fly when his fairly former lover, played by Penelope Cruz, arrives on the scene, and things pretty much get heated. Like, there's a really nice scene between Scarlett Johansson and Penelope Cruz where they pretty much make out. And of course, there's like a really nice scene with Javier Bardem with them. I don't really want to go into much details because it's a little provocative, to be honest with you. But anyway, Woody Allen actually directed this movie, and he did a pretty good job. Scarlett Johansson have worked with Woody Allen before as well. He worked with him on, I believe he did that movie Scoop, which has Scarlett Johansson in it. And Scarlett Johansson also worked with Woody Allen on the movie Match Point, which, out of all those, I think Vicky Cristina Barcelona is the better film. It's a really decent little film. Javier Bardem was pretty good. Johansson was great. Rebecca Hall doesn't really get talked about that much in this film. She was terrific. If you guys never seen Vicky Cristina Barcelona, check it out. It's a really good film. And I believe Penelope Cruz won her Oscar for this too, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, coming in at number 7 is a film called The Nanny Diaries. The Nanny Diaries was a pretty funny little film. In it, Scarlett Johansson plays a college student named Annie Braddock, who ends up working a class, like a working class background, and she ends up taking a job as a nanny with for a couple played by Paul Giamatti and Laura Linney. And of course, she has really good chemistry with the kid in this. She even falls in love with Chris Evans' character. So pretty much, Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson have worked together before the MCU started. Anyway, Nanny Diaries I think it's pretty underrated. I think it's a really funny little film. It's really heartfelt. It even had Alicia Keys. She was in this. It was pretty cool seeing Alicia Keys making I believe this was her film debut. And the chemistry between Scarlett Johansson and the kid in this was pretty good. And shows how great Scarlett Johansson could do when she does comedy. Because between this and Rough Night, she could do comedy pretty well. But if you guys haven't never checked out The Nanny Diaries, I'd say give it a go. I think you'll enjoy it. Especially if you want to see a really good, another side of Johansson. Coming in at number 6 is Captain America Civil War. Scarlett Johansson, I thought, was great as Black Widow in this one. Of course, the side that she ends up taking is Iron Man's side, which I always say this. It makes sense that Scarlett Johansson ends up going to Iron Man's side because, come on. Iron Man 2 was the film that really introduced us to Black Widow, so that kind of made a little more sense. Anyway. Yeah, Civil War is just great. I've talked about this for a while, really. Civil War is really fun. The action scenes in this was pretty good. Scarlett Johansson, she was, once again, great as Black Widow. And I also like the confrontation between Scarlett Johansson and Hawkeye. I think there was a line where Hawkeye and Black Widow was gonna fight, and then Black Widow asks him, Are we still friends? Then Hawkeye said, "Yeah." That scene was pretty funny because Scarlett Johansson and Hawkeye pretty much developed a relationship throughout the MCU, so it was kind of interesting seeing them face off against one another. But Civil War is definitely a really good one. All right. Coming in at number 5 is the movie Her. Now, this is actually a voiceover for Scarlett Johansson. I mean, in the film, Joaquin Phoenix plays like a lonely guy who, get this, he has a relationship with his operating system, which is played by Scarlett, or I should say, voiced by Scarlett Johansson. I mean, the movie actually sounds pretty dumb, but it is actually really great. Scarlett Johansson, I mean, it's just her voice, but even her voice, she gave a tremendous performance in this. And lots of people actually think Scarlett Johansson probably should have scored an Oscar nomination. And you know what? I gotta say, I kind of agree with them. I think Scarlett Johansson, it could be an argument made that Scarlett Johansson could have scored a nomination for this because she was actually really great here. And the interaction between Johansson and Phoenix is great. Her is it's a weird movie, I will admit. It's really weird, but it's actually really good. And I believe actress Samantha Moy was supposed to play the Johansson role, but Johansson, of course, took it. And I think Johansson, she did a fantastic job here. And if you guys never seen her, it's really good. Coming in at number 4 is pretty much one of Johansson's like earliest roles, and that's the movie Ghost Town. In Ghost Town, the film tells the story of Enid, played by Dora Birch, and Rebecca, played by Johansson, who faced with a graduation from high school, take a hard look at the world, and they of course observe and decide what they really want. And so, like when Enid, takes interest in the offbeat Seymour, played by Steve Buscemi, and Rebecca ends up focusing her attention on their mutual romantic flirtation. Named Josh, played by the late Brad Renfro. The girls' friendship, ends up changing forever and all. I've always liked the chemistry between both Dora Birch and Johansson. They were both great here. The movie was also from the same director of Bad Santa. Steve Buscemi still lots of scenes here. The movie is also based on I guess say comic book, so Scarlett Johansson technically did a comic book movie before the MCU began. And I believe, can't remember how old Scarlett Johansson was in this movie. I think she was maybe in her early 20s or maybe 18 or whatever. But anyway, this movie was really good. Like, I would love to see Scarlett Johansson and Dora Birch do another thing together because they both had great chemistry here. Like, I would love to maybe see in the MCU where Dora Birch has some sort of cameo and she's like walking by Black Widow. It would be cool seeing some sort of reunion between the two. Alright. Coming in at number 3 is, of course, The Avengers. I mean, Scarlett Johansson, she was born to play Black Widow. I mean, my favorite scene of my favorite Black Widow moment is definitely the beginning when Black Widow is introduced in The Avengers, and the scene where she's like talking to Agent Cassone while she's being captured by like a group of terrorists, and she ends up being them whole. I mean, that's probably one of my favorite MCU moments. And Scarlett Johansson, that woman could kick butt. I mean, believe it or not, I believe it was Emily Blunt who was once attached to play the role, and I'm sure Emily Blunt probably would have done good, but I really don't think I could see another actress playing Black Widow other than Scarlett Johansson, because Scarlett Johansson just played this role perfectly. Like I said, she was introduced as Black Widow in Iron Man 2, and since then she's been great here, and of course, coming in at number 2 is Infinity War, and she was, of course, great in Infinity War. Like the scenes between between Black Widow and Steve Rogers in Infinity War was pretty cool. Scarlett Johansson kicked loads of butt once again in Infinity War. I mean, I just really love Infinity War so much. I've seen the movie maybe about 4 times when it got released. I just really appreciate Infinity War, and yeah, I of course cannot wait to see Scarlett Johansson reprise her Black Widow role again in Endgame. And of course, she's going to be in the solo movie as well. So we're still going to be seeing Black Widow, again in the near future, which I like because I really like the character so much. All right, now my number one favorite Scarlett Johansson movie is Lost in Translation. Now, Lost in Translation was directed by Sofia Coppola, who I think did a pretty good job with this. And in the film, Bill Murray plays like an aging movie star named Bob Harris, who has like a conflicted newlywed played by Scarlett Johansson, who he meets in Tokyo. And so, like, while he's there to film a Japanese whiskey commercial, Scarlett is accompanied by her celebrity photographer husband, and the two end up finding escape, distraction, and understanding amidst the bright Tokyo lights. And they had really good cinematography here, and I really like the chemistry between both Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray. They were both great here, and it was pretty cool that Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson had a reunion in the Jungle Book, even though Ka and Blue didn't share any scenes, but it was still pretty cool seeing two of the Lost in Translation stars in Jungle Book. But anyway, back to the movie. Yeah, Sofia Coppola. Believe it or not, this is actually not my favorite Sofia Coppola movie, really. I think probably the Virgin Suicides is probably my favorite, or maybe The Blame Ring. It goes back and forth, but definitely Lost in Translation is one of my favorite. I mean, she really gave good performances out of Bill Murray and out of Scarlett Johansson. I believe Giovanni Ribisi was also in this. Anna Faris had a role in this, but the best performances in this is, of course, both Murray and Johansson, because they were both terrific in this. And I believe Scarlett Johansson scored an actress nomination for this, if I'm not mistaken. Gotta double check that, but I definitely know Bill Murray scored a nomination for this, and I believe the movie also scored a nomination for Best Picture, but I believe it lost out to the last Lord of the Rings movie. But anyway, yeah, Lost in Translation is definitely a really good one with great performances, great chemistry between both Murray and Johansson, and I really like the purple hair that Scarlett Johansson wore in this. I really dug that wig and all. But anyway, if you guys never seen Lost in Translation, check it out. It's a really good little film. But anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. Number 10, Lucy. 9, Rough Night. 8, Vicky Cristina Barcelona. 7, The Nanny Diaries. 6, Captain America Civil War. 5, Her. 4, Ghost Town. 3, The Avengers. 2, Avengers Infinity War. 1, Lost in Translation. Now, also, she was really great in Age of Ultron as well. Let's see. She's been in other great stuff too. I mean, I probably could have added Age of Ultron, but to be honest, I didn't want to just add MCU, like every MCU movies and all, because I mean, actors like Scarlett Johansson and Downey Jr. and all have been in other stuff other than just the MCU, so I didn't want to overstack my list with just MCU films. But anyway. Yeah, other stuff Scarlett Johansson has been in. She was also in Ghost in the Shell, which is horrible. Under the Skin, which she was good in, but the movie just reeks. To me, Under the Skin is probably A24's worst film. Anyway, she was also in Home Alone 3, Match Point, Don John, she was great in. We Bought a Zoo, The Island, which to me is actually Michael Bay's worst film. She was in The Horse Whisperer, The Prestige, Girl with a Pure Earring, The Black Dollar, Jon Favreau's Chef, the aforementioned Iron Man 2, The Jungle Book, The Spirit. She was also in The Perfect Score, which also had Chris Evans in that. She was also great in Hitchcock. Yeah, Scarlett Johansson is just awesome. Anyway, let me leave to you guys. What are some of your favorite Scarlett Johansson movies? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Tom Sells signing off.